Hey, my name is Shelly and welcome to another vlog. So this vlog actually started out for like the March break, aka spring break. We had the week off, so I'm like, what better time to do a vlog? Get a lot of reading done and I'll have so much time to myself. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. I planned it so perfectly. I was going up north. We're going to be by the beach. It's going to be cold. And I decided to pick up Darkwater Daughter. And I thought it'd be really awesome to vlog this book along with like the setting. I thought it was just perfect. Unfortunately, everything else was beautiful. Like the scenery was beautiful. Everything else was beautiful. The book was good. I just was not feeling like being in front of a camera. And I did record some stuff, but I just, upon rewatching it, I'm like, you can tell I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be talking about it. My mental health was kind of going through the ringer. It still sort of is, but I'm kind of like stepping out of it. Hopefully in the next few days, I'll feel a lot better, but I haven't been feeling the desire to sit in front of a camera. So we'll see how today goes, because like I said, I'm really not feeling it. But I'm feeling it more so than I was last week. I'm happy to say that I really enjoyed this book. I want to talk about it, but because I didn't do a vlog, I'm actually going to do a review, like a review video for this book. Hopefully after this video. Like I said, I'm not really feeling it. How about this? I'll film it, and if it's garbage, I'm going to toss it. And if it's salvageable, you'll probably see the video for this before the vlog comes up. So, spoiler alert, really great. I loved it. I highly recommend it. I will talk about it further in my video if I decide to post it. And if I'm not, I'll talk about it in my March wrap up. So it's going to be spring really soon. Like it technically already is spring, but it doesn't feel like it today. It felt like it last week, but today it feels very much like winter. Spring, for some reason, for me, really resonates with romantic fantasies. And I don't know why, but I've just been craving romantic fantasies. And I don't even want to say romantasies, because it's not romantasies. Romantasies, in my opinion, are like romance first, fantasy second. I like a mix of both, or a little bit more of like the fantasy side more. I'm just going to sit back a bit. I would say like maybe in the past 2 months, I've been really listening to myself and listening to what I want to read, as opposed to listening to what everybody else is reading. And I'm very happy that everybody else is loving it. But sometimes I don't generally like what everybody else likes. Like, I think I have an unpopular opinion most of the time. So I'm really trying to listen to what I know that I love. And romantic fantasies is what I love. Not romantasy. We make sure that we are talking about that we're not talking about romantasy. We're talking about fantasies with romantic elements. Anyways, I'm repeating myself, so let's stop doing that. Long story short, I'm feeling like fantasy first, romance second in the same book, and I decided to pick up When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. So I heard about this book like literally 3 weeks ago, and I think it was from a video that Brittany from Books with Brittany posted like 3 weeks ago, gushing about this book. If you know me, you know her, because she's fabulous. She was just gushing about this book. Instantly, I found a copy on Indigo. Also, it's on Kindle Unlimited for free. I wanted to order this because it didn't have an audiobook. So I got it. And this cover is just really, really cute. It's a wraparound cover. Oh, it's just so cute. If you know me, you know that I don't like knowing too much about books before I jump into them. I just like to know like little snippets. And the little snippets that I know is that it has dragons and the world is really like the book is very detailed. Like it's like a fantasy book. So I will be reading this in this vlog. It is a huge book, so this vlog may actually take me a couple of weeks to do, but that's okay because spring is coming. So that means that there's going to be lots of beautiful flowers popping up, trees blossoming, all that, the birds singing, you know, a Bambi movie, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm going to be reading this. This is my physical read, and I'm going to be starting this today. A little bit of an update. I have 2 audiobooks going right now. I'm still listening to The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu. This book has probably taken me a lot longer than I thought it would. It's right there if you're curious. Boop. So that is my audiobook right now, but I will be probably finishing that in a couple days. Another little bit of an update is that I have recently rediscovered the Apothecary Diaries. It is a light novel, manga, and then an anime. So I actually read the manga like a couple years ago and just never continued on. I think I read the first volume. And then the anime series came out last year. It's actually still airing. I think the last episode will be airing next week by the time this is filmed next week. And I just became absolutely obsessed. Like, obsessed with this story. Like, I stayed up until like 1 o'clock in the morning 2 nights in a row, which is not good for my bags, but I did it. If you like palace drama, this is for you. And I mean like Chinese palace drama. So although it is written by a Japanese person, it takes place in a fictional world, or maybe historic world, I'm not sure, in China. So in this time, we are following a young girl named Mao, who is the adopted daughter of the village apothecary that actually, it's not the village apothecary, sorry, it's the pleasure district's apothecary. So like the pleasure district has its own apothecary, but she was basically raised and taught a lot of stuff about the pleasure house, and also she was taught apothecary stuff by her adopted father. And in the beginning, this is not giving anything away, in the beginning she is kidnapped and taken to the palace. And if you know anything about Chinese palace life, it is very fascinating, very depressing. Like, honestly, I am so grateful after reading this story, or like after watching this anime, I'm so grateful that although this world is not perfect, I do not live in that world. Because in that world, you can only be a mother or, you know, live to please men, basically. And it was very depressing and very cutthroat. And yeah. So anyways, so she's in this palace now, forced against her will. And then they discover that she actually has a lot of knowledge about poisons and stuff like that. And Mao is just probably the best character I've ever come across. She is like kind of crazy and obsessed with like poisons, to the point where like she loves them a little bit too much. So she gets involved in some like palace mysteries and gets introduced to this like really attractive eunuch. So she kind of develops a life in this palace and friendships, and it's just like there's more mysteries, because I mean palace life is all cutthroat, right? Also, you learn a lot about poisons, you learn a lot about like herbology, I think it's called herbology, and just like everything. It's just, I love it. It has the best characters. It is a romance, but the romance is just so freaking cute. It is so cute. I love it. And then so I finished the anime. Well, I watched all the episodes I could watch, and then I picked up the manga. And I read that until like midnight last night. So I'm really tired. But I highly recommend the Apothecary Diaries for anybody who's interested. Unfortunately, I think the anime is only on Crunchyroll. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll correct it here if I can find it where else. But the manga and the light novels, you can get ebooks and find them in stores anywhere. So that's my update for now. I'm gonna stop this video, go film this Dark Water Daughter video. I don't know. I'm feeling kind of tongue-tied today, so that might not happen. And then I'll chat back with you in a couple days. This is the coolest map in my parents' house. My parents have a lot of maps, but this is the coolest one. This is Ontario, and then there's Michigan, and I guess this is all Michigan. Ontario. Zoom in here. This is like, it shows all the depths of the water. So like down here is Lake Huron. Depths. look how deep it is right here. Like, that's crazy deep. And then this is Georgian Bay. Then come down here. It's Toronto, that's where I usually live. And then this Lake Ontario. So yeah, love these maps. You can get them for like anywhere. It's really awesome. I forgot to bring Mike. I've been like, okay, so I changed the angle a little bit. I'm just testing this out for maybe future videos, see how it works. I just posted my Darkwater Daughter book review yesterday, and I rewatched it because I always kind of try to rewatch my videos just to make sure that it looks okay, sounds okay, etc. Because I don't know about you, like, well, when I'm making it, like, it's not until I post it on YouTube, and then, like, I feel like sometimes it changes the quality or something. I don't know. So I have to watch it on YouTube to see how it looks on YouTube. So I always watch my videos just in case. And it looked like shit. Like, I hated the look of it. The sound was weird for some reason. I don't freaking know why. And then I discovered that the wire on my mic was frayed. So I had to replace it today. So hopefully that helps. So that's why the sound was shit. But the picture looked like crap. So I'm trying to start a different angle. Let me know if you like this angle for future videos. It just means that I have to stand up. So I had a massage today, and I found a woman in my neighborhood. She does Reiki, she does reflexology, and obviously the standard like massage. And so I decided to go to her because I suffer from really bad, like I have really stiff neck. Like, she even like rubbed me. She's like, "My God, you're bad." Every masseuse I've had is like, "You're stiff. You're like really stiff." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I found her, and I am never turning back. Like, she is now my masseuse, whether she likes it or not. Books. We are here to talk about books. Okay, so first things first. I started When the Moon Hatched last night. I had to stop. I started getting a headache. It's just life. But oh my gosh, it is so good. And I'm always on the hunt for like unique fantasies. And I know everybody kind of throws that word around a lot. But like, I like going into the world where they call like day cycles something different. Or they have different terms for like normal things that we have. I love it. Like, I'm still kind of like feeling around. And when I'm starting a new book, especially when it's a book with a lot of details, new terminology, all that stuff, I read it incredibly slow. I'm not sure if that's like anybody else has that issue as well or does that as well. But I read so slow. So one chapter could take me like 40 minutes just because I'm slowly reading and getting used to the writing style and all the terminology and stuff. So I anticipate that I'm going to love this book already from like the epilogue and the first chapter. I think I'm going to love it. I think that this book is going to be huge. I anticipate that this book is going to be huge. I don't know if it's going to be big because it is very intricate. It's very detailed. That might turn off a lot of just casual readers because it is a lot. That's my prediction. It's going to be big. Anyways, loving it. I will continue to post about this in a bit. I grabbed the wrong one. The reason why I wanted to do this video is because I've been listening to the Wald stories pretty much the whole day. And wow, like, Ken Liu is brilliant. Fucking brilliant. Like, this guy, one, loves history. Like, you cannot read this book and not see that he loves history. Like, he's a history buff. And two, just the scope of everything, the details, I can't even think of the words because it's just like I'm just still wrapping my head around how beautifully written this book is and how smart. I'm not coming up with a lot of good words right now to describe this book. It's the massage. I have massage brain. I'm still having the same issue where I have to read it slowly because it is very much like a historic documentary or a historic book in a fantasy world setting. It is very much like that. I can totally understand why people would be turned off by that, but personally, I think it's fucking awesome. It's fantastic. I am, like, the more I read at this, the more I see influence from, like, obviously the Chinese dynasties. And then there's a bit of a Norse, like, Viking kind of inspiration I see. and a little bit of North American Aboriginals, like the whole, the Europeans coming to Americas. That I totally see inspiration for. But the big one is Vikings. Like, for sure, Vikings in this. And it seems kind of crazy, but I see the Viking culture just like all over this. Not to mention, I did notice in the Grace of Kings that it was very similar to the TV show Vikings, the one from the History Channel. It's very similar. The way that Cooney came into power is very much like Ragnar from Vikings. Even like the family dynamic, very freaking similar, and a lot of other things I just don't want to mention. But the way that it kind of develops from like this young guy going up to power, and yeah, that's just where I'm gonna leave it there. I don't want to like give anything away. But honestly, if you love the Dandelion Dynasty, I highly suggest checking out the Vikings TV show. It's really good, especially the first like 4 seasons. I think I stopped watching it after that, but I believe it's like 6 seasons, and I think there's a spin-off show. So definitely worth checking out. Just saying. Okay, I'm gonna go. I have like oil in my hair. I need to shower. My kids have to be picked up in like an hour, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that in time. But I'll check back with you in a couple days. All right, bye. This is like the 3rd time I've filmed this video. The first time the sound was garbage. The second time the video was like angled weird. I'm not having any luck filming these days. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, I need to film this because I'm going away for the weekend and I won't be able to have a chance to film it until I get back. But that would be too late. So I just want to give a quick update. I finished The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu. How do I explain this book? It is just the most beautifully, masterfully written book I've ever read in my life. He is just such a phenomenal writer. I apologize if you hear a sound. There's a puppy playing with a ball over there. Maybe I'll show you a picture afterwards. He is just such a fantastic writer. I'm blown away by just the vastness of the world and like how intricate the history is. Like it's an actual historic event. Do you know what I mean? Like it is that well done that it's just like it could be from real events. Overall, it was a 5-star read, obviously, but I do have to say, even though I believe that this book is just so amazing, my overall enjoyment was kind of on the lower end. There was a lot. There was a lot going on. And at times it read very much like a documentary. Like this is how things were and explaining the situation. There would be like short stories explaining how a person discovered something that would eventually help out in some sort of battle. Do you know what I mean? Like there would be a short story about how somebody would discover fire. I don't know. I'm just being very vague because I don't want to give anything away. I loved all of that. But like I said, it was very much like a historic fantasy or a historic fiction in a fantastical world. And I do love that, but personally I prefer watching stuff like that because that's the way my brain is. I'm a visual learner, so for something like this, it was really difficult for me to absorb it all and remember it all. So because of that, I had to take my sweet time with it. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I enjoyed that. Overall, 5 stars, phenomenal. I highly recommend this series. I will be continuing on. I'm not going to rush like I thought I was going to. Like I thought I was going to read it a month after month, but maybe in a couple months I will read the Veiled Throne. So I'm taking my time with it. I'm enjoying it, essentially. But yeah, it is everything that everybody talks about. It is essentially, it's a masterpiece. Like honestly, it's a masterpiece. Okay, so completely switching gears. I finished The Bladed Faith, and this book took me a month to read. I started it physically, but then I put it down because I wanted to read some fantasy romance, you know, feeling that vibe. So I switched to the audiobook, and I feel like that was a big mistake because the audiobook narrators, although they weren't terrible, I just didn't like them. And that's just my personal preference. I felt like the female narrator was just, her voice sounded way too young for the characters. And I didn't like the way that her voice fluctuated. I felt like it was kind of weird. And the male also, I felt like it just didn't really fit the story. And there was nothing wrong. Like, they weren't bad. They didn't sound terrible. I've heard worse. But I would think that I would enjoy it better if there was different narrators. Okay, so what I loved about this book, and there was a lot of things that I loved, and unfortunately there's a lot of things I was very indifferent to. But what I loved about this book was I loved the look, the exploration of a building rebellion. I loved that, like all the different factions, all the nitty-gritty things, you know, like how to fund it, all that stuff. I love that. I love the struggle of fighting the big fight against the big bad empire. Loved it. I always love like fighting against an empire story. I don't know why. I just do. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Star Wars, to name two. I love those stories. So I'm a sucker for that. And I especially love the description of the gods that are here. It is just, the imagery is so beautiful. I think that's honestly why I kept reading it, because it reminded me of Final Fantasy, like the visuals of Final Fantasy. That's honestly how I felt like it was. Like, that's what it looked like. And I love that. And I really did enjoy all the different like types of people that they have, the different cultures, the different religions. That was all very enjoyable. And the characters were not bad. They weren't bad, but they weren't like my favorite. I was very indifferent to the story. I didn't care what happened to the characters. The big reveals, I'm like, okay, cool, that was fun. It just didn't, it was an okay read. It was an okay read, and we don't want that. We want our new favorites, you know? I think the biggest problem I have with this book is the beginning. We honestly could have done without the first 50 to 100 pages. It could have been condensed dramatically, but that's a me problem because I don't like training montages. I feel like training montages are awesome, but I don't think they deserve chapters upon chapters upon chapters. So I don't know if I'm going to continue on with this book. Honestly, from what I know, I think I would rather read The Dragonbone Chair, which is right there, just because the descriptions is what I like about this, but I know that The Dragonbone Chair also has beautifully visual descriptions, so I would rather continue on and read that book than continue reading this book. I'm not DNFing the series, but it's a big question mark. I don't know if I mentioned that. Yeah, I'm babysitting my dog's Australian Shepherd, and he's 9 months old, and he's adorable, but he is an Australian Shepherd, and they have a lot of energy. Oh, here he comes. Okay. No, I don't want kisses in the mouth. I don't like kisses in the mouth. He's 9 months old, and he's like massive. He's a big, massive, fluffy. Okay, get down. You're gonna knock the tripod over. Please don't. Please don't. Now he won't leave me alone. Hi. Do you want to be in the video? Okay, can you come down, please? So the angle changed and the lighting changed as predicted because the dog knocked it down. Oh, well, whatever. Okay, so quickly finishing this up because I got him OUT soon. Okay, so I have not read When the Moon Hatched. I think I read maybe 3 chapters since we last talked. So I've been very bad. I've been very bad for reasons I'll get into in a bit. Essentially, I love this book. It reminds me strongly of the War Eternal series by Rob J. Hayes, mainly because the main character is very snarky and has kind of a bad past that we haven't really got into yet, but that's very much like Eska from the War Eternal series. So I'm distracted by a dog right there. Don't eat the carpet! But the world that's not like, so distracted by this dog, but like medieval fantasy. Like, yay! Not a medieval fantasy! Hooray! Because I'm so sick of medieval fantasies. So this is a really unique fantasy, and also the dragons in here are different. That's all I have to say. I mean, we're just kind of getting to know them, but they're very different. I'm really enjoying this. enjoying the tone, even though it's first person narrative. I do like how it's written. It's written very well. Like I said, different fantasy world. So I'm super eager, and it reads very quickly too. Like it's very easily digestible and easily bingeable. So I'm really hoping to binge it because I am going away again. It's Easter weekend and we're going away back to my parents' place. And I'm hoping this time I'll actually be able to get some reading time in. And I hope, fingers crossed, even though it's the 23rd right now, or the 28th, sorry. I don't know what day it is. It's the 28th right now. So I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that I can read it by the end of the month. But if not, it is what it is. Why I haven't been reading is because I've been watching. And I've been addicted to rom-coms. But not any rom-coms, no. I'm addicted to anime and Japanese drama rom-coms only. The rest of them, I can't handle American and North American rom-coms. It's like Japanese, I don't know, but maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know. But super addicted to it. I finished 2 anime series. I finished A Sign of Affection. It was cute. Really cute. Like, it's just a typical cute, quiet girl, nice, like, fun guy kind of anime. And then Hiromiya. I love the beginning of Hiromiya, but it fizzled out really quickly, and I lost interest in it real fast. And then I started watching some Japanese dramas on Netflix. I watched Turn to Me, I think it's Mukai-kun? Turn to Me, Mukai-kun. I got super addicted to that, even though I was irritated by majority of the characters. And they did a lot of things like a miscommunication trope, which I freaking hate. They also did a lot of things where they talk about, like, overly talk about things, like analyze everything. And they just kept talking about relationships to the point where I'm just like, you know what would be beneficial if you talk to the actual person you're in a relationship about these problems with instead of your buddies. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, just communicate. That's all. A lot of these problems would have been resolved if you just used your words with the person that you're in said relationship with. Pissed me off. The other thing was there was 3 separate female characters that were so anti-marriage that they like ended relationships because they're like, I don't want to be married, or you asked me to marry you, so I'm breaking up with you. I'm like, what the fuck? So yeah, I had a problem with that whole look on things. Like, it's either one or the other. Why can't it be like you be married and then you have your own life, and just because you're married doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have kids. That doesn't mean it. Lots of people don't have kids. So I found that was confusing, and those characters to be a little irritating because they were so extreme. And I'm just like, oh God. But despite the complaints, I really was addicted to it. The other one that I absolutely love, the one that I love, is I Love You. And this is also on Netflix. And it's kind of a mix between Korean and Japanese, where there's a young Korean guy, and he moves into Japan, and he's working in Japan and going to school in Japan. And he meets a Japanese girl who can hear thoughts. But the problem is that he thinks in Korean. So when they're talking, she doesn't understand what he's saying to her. And I just love it. It's just really adorable. Unfortunately, there are only 5 episodes right now on Netflix. And the next 5 are coming out mid-April, and I'm like, that's far too long. I need more. If you can recommend any, put them down below, because I am always on the search for more. I feel like the comedy part is a big factor, because yes, I can find melodramas, like Japanese melodramas, they're a dime a dozen, but I'm looking for the funny stuff. So if you got any suggestions, put them down below. There's a dog that's wanting my attention, and I will check back with you in a couple days. Bye. Luffy, do you want to go outside? Remember when I said I really loved romantic fantasy right now? Remember that? I got over that real freaking fast. All right, so I finished When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Unfortunately, I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to love it. I thought it was going to be a brand new favorite, And unfortunately, it just didn't quite reach that status. There's a huge, huge but. As far as like modern romantic fantasies go, this one is like top tier for like fantasy. And for like overall enjoyment, it's okay as well. And I would say the first like maybe 200, 300 pages were just like, I loved it. I had the best time. It gave me like War of Eternal vibes. The main character really reminded me of Eska from War of Eternals, which is like one of my favorites. And the world kind of reminded me of Wind and Winged Flame trilogy. But there was one point in the story where they literally changed scenes, like they changed environments, they changed locations, and the story freaking changed, and it turned into a typical romantic fantasy inspired by Sarah J. Maas. I'm like, oh, why did you do that? I just don't need another group of like hot young fae that everybody's like smoking freaking hot, and they all have like sassy dialogue and snappy dialogue, and they're all like make fun of each other. I was just like, oh, no. Let's go back to where she was grumpy and living in the gutters and being an assassin and ripping people to shreds. Let's go back to that, because I really enjoyed that. And then the romance. I actually, as far as romance goes, I really genuinely liked this romance. I could see they had really good chemistry. Like, really good chemistry. The build was believable. Like, everything was believable. So yes, that was really good. But I couldn't help but to notice that it was heavily inspired by Sarah J. Maas. And like, listen, maybe it's because I've read so many of them, but can we stop? Can we stop? There are other magical beings out there besides like hot fae. Like, really, there are. There's so many. Especially with self-pub fantasies, they're heavily like fae people. And I'm done with it. I don't get it. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. I'm over it. So those things kind of took my enjoyment down. But the world building, the history, the people, the writing style, the characters, the dialogue, everything about it was so much better than previous books that I mentioned. Also, I found that it was predictable at times, but the ending, I didn't see until like the last like 100 pages. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that's where that went. The magic system is based off of gods, and each god is like an elemental, like an element, like fire, water, air, earth, blah, 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 etc. And depending on who you connect with, so some people connect with the air god, some people connect with the fire god, and usually it's like family, like religion. You know, you get your religion from your family and from your culture. So it's kind of the same situation where culturally some people are more attuned to air or ice and stuff like that. But some people actually have more than one. Actually, I think it's common for people to have more than one, but the more you have, the better it is for you and the more powerful you are. But it comes with a double-edged sword, because you are powerful, you are also susceptible to being crazy. And then there are the dragons. The dragons are, honestly, I was a little disappointed in the dragons, and people that read this were probably like, why? Because they didn't have personality. They did, okay, so the one dragon had personality, but besides that, they're more like a tool to the story and the world building. You didn't really get much of a personality out of the dragons besides how other people talked about their relationship with the dragons. It was told, not shown. And another thing is like, I kind of question why these like beautiful, powerful creatures would kind of let themselves be ridden around and commanded. Like, I'm like, if they're such powerful creatures, why would they let little fae people command them and ride them and tell them what to do? That part kind of confused me a little bit. And I would have liked to see that fleshed out a little bit more. But with that said, the sequel, I hope that is addressed. And we do see a little bit more about the dragons and The one thing I really, really, really enjoyed about the whole dragon thing is actually, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to mention it because I feel like it might give the story a little bit away. So, but there is something special about these dragons compared to other dragon stories. Like I said, I wasn't feeling in the mood for reading, so it took me about 3 weeks to read. But honestly, even though it is a pretty big book, it is a very bingeable book. It's a quick read. If you really want to sit down and read, it's a quick read. And I highly recommend it if you're looking for like something a little bit more elevated than other romantic fantasies with a really cool magic system, like really cool world and kind of magic systems that are very reminiscent to like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now that I'm thinking about it, the relationship is very much like almost like fan fiction of like Avatar: The Last Airbender if you ship Aang and Zuko together. I don't want to say anything else, but if you've watched that show, you kind of know what I'm getting at. Minus my issues that I gave before, I give this book 4 stars. So I am really looking forward to reading the sequel whenever it comes out, because I think she has an Instagram account. So I will be watching on Instagram for when that comes out. Like I mentioned before, I've been really watching shit like crazy. I've been watching Shogun. If you have not watched Shogun, it's on Disney Plus and it's also on FX. It is probably one of the best shows I've seen in a while. It strongly reminds me of like Game of Thrones and that kind of like family drama, ruthless world, but minus no fantasy. So yeah, it's really good. Unfortunately, for some people, I know this is a draw because a lot of people I've talked to, I've recommended it and they're like, oh, but it's in Japanese. And I'm like, yeah, it's in a North American production, but it is in Japanese, which it should be because it's in Japan. And if they were all speaking English, I would hate it. But yes, it is in Japanese. There is English speaking in it, but yes, it is majority is in Japanese. But I know us, we're okay with that. We're cool with that. And the second update is I finally went to go see Dune 2. We had a surprise. My parents came over to stay and they offered to babysit. So we're like, yeah. So we went to go see Dune 2 and it was so good. So good. If not one of the best movies I've seen in a really, really long time. It was one of those movies where I'm like, I need to rewatch this like right away. It was so good. I read the first book. And the writing style is not really my forte, but I love the world, the story, the characters, all that stuff. And I did actually watch the 2000 and 2003 miniseries that were on like the Sci-Fi Channel or whatever. So, and that one actually covers Dune, Messiah, and then Children of Dune. So I actually know what's going to happen. I may read Dune Messiah down the road. I'll maybe read it before the movie because I heard the movie just got greenlit. So I may read it before the movie comes out, whenever that is, in like 4 years or something. I don't know. But such a good movie. Such a good series. I highly recommend to read the book if you haven't, or go watch the movies if you haven't, and if you have, maybe do it again because they're so good. So I'm going to end my vlog right here. I feel like I've covered enough. I feel like it's gone on long enough. If you've managed to last this long, thank you so much. You are like the best. Please like and subscribe. It really helps, and I hope to see you in my next one. Okay, bye.